All right, welcome to Rewatch or Return, the podcast where we put movies through the ultimate test across 10 universal categories to decide, does it call for a definite rewatch, a definite trip to the return bin, or does our subjectivity cause it to fall somewhere in between? Today, we're continuing on from last week. Last week was The Mighty Ducks. This week is D2, The Mighty Ducks. And with that said, we'll go right into the Rotten Tomatoes plot synopsis. An international competition for Junior League hockey teams is being held in Los Angeles. Coach Gordon Bombay, played by Emilio Estevez, is picked to lead Team USA. He reunites the Mighty Ducks, the teen misfits he once coached, to victory. This time, crass sports promoter Tibbles tempts the Ducks to cash in on their fame in lieu of practicing. But the team eventually gets back into training and takes on Iceland and their violence-prone coach, Wolf Stanson. All right. That was not the best synopsis, to be honest with you, but that's what they had, and I'm just copying and pasting off of Rotten Tomatoes. If I'm going to do that way with some, I'm going to do that way with all of them, so that's how it's going to be. Not the best synopsis. I don't know who put that down, but that was just didn't quite give you a whole lot there. Moving right into fast forward facts. Rewinding back to 1994. The Ducks weren't just a scrappy Pee-wee hockey team anymore, they were headed to the international stage. After the surprise success of the Mighty Ducks in 1992, Disney quickly returned with a bigger sequel, turning a local underdog story into a full-blown national team adventure. Once again starring Emilio Estevez as Coach Gordon Bombay, the film follows the Ducks after their championship win. Bombay's now coaching Team USA in the Junior Goodwill Games, a fictional international hockey tournament that feels a lot like a kid-friendly version of the Olympics. The returning cast includes Joshua Jackson as Charlie Conway, along with familiar Ducks like Fulton Reed, Goldberg, and Connie Moreau, but the roster expands with new players from across the United States, including street hockey phenom Russ Tyler, played by Keenan Thompson, whose knuckle puck shot becomes one of the movie's most memorable moments. Directed again by Sam Wiseman, the sequel significantly increased the scale of the franchise. Instead of neighborhood rinks, the story moves to Los Angeles arenas, international teams, and bigger hockey action designed to feel like a global championship. One of the film's biggest cultural impacts came from its iconic Team USA jerseys, bold red, white, and blue uniforms that quickly became one of the most recognizable hockey designs in movie history. Disney merchandise exploded after the film, selling jerseys, hats, and gear to young fans everywhere. Behind the scenes, the young actors once again underwent hockey training camps before filming. Several cast members became skilled enough to perform many of their own skating scenes, though professional doubles were still used for the faster and more dangerous gameplay shots. Another fun fact, the movie leaned heavily into the 1990s pop culture, featuring a soundtrack packed with artists and songs that give the film an unmistakable mid-90s energy. Financially, the sequel was another solid win for Disney. D2 The Mighty Ducks grossed over $45 million worldwide, proving the Ducks had staying power as a family sports franchise. The movie also helped strengthen the connection between the films and the real NHL team, the Anaheim Ducks, which had been founded the year before and borrowed its name and identity directly from the movies. Today, D2 The Mighty Ducks is remembered by many as the most iconic entry in the trilogy, the one with the knuckle puck, the international tournament, and the Ducks officially becoming Team USA's most unlikely heroes. Because sometimes the sequel doesn't just go bigger, it goes global. All right. With that down, we're going to move right into what the critics said, except the way that I usually do this, I look at the first top 10 critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and I only go to top 10, like to the top critics. So I don't go for fan reviews. I generally just look and see what the critics themselves said, and I go specifically to the ones who are considered top critics. I did that on here. There was a whole bunch of critic reviews, but on this one in particular, when I hit top 10, or not top 10, when I hit the top critics button, there was one top critic on here. So, in order to stay with the way that I've been doing this and not just change things up simply to have more reviews, I'm just going to stay with the top critics and give you one. Anyway, the tomato meter was at 20%, so they would have all been terrible as it is. There's one terrible one here, but the tomato meter's at 20%, popcorn meter's at 59%. But let's jump right into this one critic review that we have. This is Lois Alter Mark from Entertainment Weekly in 1994. She gives it a C- and says the sequel is even more banal than the original, and it's difficult to take seriously the new film's position against the commercialism of sports, given Disney's NHL ties. Whatever. That's my feelings. Whatever. But that's what the critics said, or the critic there. They all were not really big fans of this. Moving on to first time or 50th. Is this your first time, or is it a nostalgic return? Man, is this a nostalgic return for me? It hadn't been near as long since I saw this as it had been from the time that I saw the original Mighty Ducks. I mean, it had been years since, not since I went back and watched it for this, but anyway, I still went a very long time without seeing that one. This one is not the case. Not really sure why, but I somehow made sure that I've seen this one somewhat regularly my entire life since it came out. So I would say very easily I've seen this one actually, not just as a whatever you want to call it, not just for a segment here. I'm not just saying 50 because this is called First Time or 50th. Obviously, there's not many movies that people have seen 50 times, but I'm almost certain that I have seen this one 50 times because I probably watched it after it came out and I had it. I mean, I probably watched this at least once a month, if not more. Sometimes I would watch it more than that. Sometimes I would watch it around about every month. But like this was a kind of just like a staple for me growing up. This was absolutely my favorite of the Mighty Ducks films. I like them all, but for whatever reason, and we'll get into why. This was just my favorite. Well, we can get into why. There's a lot of reasons why for me, but like I think that one, it was cool that the first one did what they did, and then it was also cool that they took the second one into this kind of kids Olympics style thing, and now you're not just the Ducks anymore. You're Team USA. So there's this national pride that comes along with it, but it's also the Ducks. So you love them because they're the Ducks, but also now you have a further love for what they're doing as an American, watching them essentially playing like the kids Olympics kind of deal, and play for the USA. So there's that. There's just a lot to it, but I really enjoyed this as a kid, and definitely, easily I would say have actually legitimately seen this 50 times. Moving on to be continued. Would a sequel for this film work? And if there is a sequel, should there have been? Well, this is a sequel, and I think, in my opinion, it's my favorite of the three. So I think it should exist as a sequel because I like it. But I also really enjoy the third, and I think they did a good job with the third, and I think that I'm glad they made it. Yes, they should have made it, and I would assume it did pretty well. I haven't looked at the numbers. I haven't gone through all that, but I'm assuming that the third one did pretty well anyway. This one as a whole, this, like I spoke of on the last episode for just the original Mighty Ducks, this is just a really good like family sports trilogy that was able to hold on to kind of the same crew the whole time, and it just made it enjoyable. I think they did a really good job with it, and this is like one of the most legitimate group of films that was made that didn't just like completely go off the deep end into like over the top B movie nonsense. But yes, there is a sequel. This is a sequel. I think the sequel should exist. I think this should exist. I love the whole entire trilogy. Myself. There's probably a lot of nostalgia to that, obviously, but I do enjoy these films even still today as an adult, just as much as I did when I was a kid. All right, before we jump into the final segment, today's episode is brought to you by PrepStartsNow.com, your go-to spot for emergency and outdoor preparedness. If you're anything like me, you'd rather be prepared and not need it than need the essentials and not have them. From 72-hour emergency essentials to camping gear, car emergency essentials, multi-tools, first aid, and even home gardening supplies as you start to grow some of your own food, they've got you covered for all of it, and the best part is, as a listener, you can use the promo code REWATCH to get a 15% site-wide discount, and you'll also be helping out the show as they give us a small reward for your business in the process. Head to PrepStartsNow.com /discount/rewatch. That's PrepStartsNow.com /discount/rewatch. or simply enter the code REWATCH at checkout and get prepared today. Alrighty, with that down, we're going to jump right into a quick recap of the film. Basically, what you have here is leaving the last film, Gordon Bombay, the coach, was leaving to go play in the minors, minor league hockey. And this one, it starts off where he is in the minor leagues. He ends up with an injury. He comes back home to Minnesota, and when he gets there, he goes back to the skate shop, which is Hans' skate shop, but now his brother Jan is there running it. Hans is gone. Or Han, I don't know why I can't remember if it's Han or Hans. But anyway, his brother Jan is there now. So this guy who essentially plays the same part, that same kind of mentor person in this one is the brother of Han or Hans. I can't remember if it's which one it is. But he gets there and he tells him that, hey, I told them about you, these guys that were looking for someone to coach the U.S. hockey team, the kids USA hockey team. I told them about you, and they're interested in having you coach. And so he rounds up the Ducks and goes to an arena where they're going to be introduced to these new players. And so you get the original Ducks, and then you get these new kids who are going to be on the USA hockey team with this particular bunch of the original Ducks. So now you have Team USA hockey, and they're all trying to get along, and so they do their practicing, and they become a team together, and they fly on out to L.A., and they're going to be in this Junior Goodwill Games. So they start things off, and everything's fun and enjoyable, and in the process, they're kind of beating everybody. There's this one team, Iceland, who has a coach that's, I guess, used to be super duper violent and got kicked out of the NHL because of his violence, but that's essentially how he coaches his team to play and be. But they're kind of the big, burly Norse dudes, all, they're the team to beat. And the Team USA, which is what I'm going to call them until they're the Ducks again, but they're Team USA throughout this, and while they do well at first, things just aren't really looking good. They realize that they aren't necessarily as good as they think they are, or practiced up as they think they are, or prepared as they think they are, because it's been easy for them. So in the process of all that, they kind of start losing games and tying games and not doing real well. And then also at the same time, Gordon is getting really into the perks of all this, the hypes of all this, the attention, and so he's not really focusing on coaching. He's focusing on trying to meet and mingle and kind of make connections for himself and get all into the kind of magazine covers of it all and all that kind of stuff. So you have this sort of fallout between he starts being really hard on the kids, and it's all about win, and there's no fun in it. And so there's a fallout between him and the kids. And eventually he goes off and realizes that he is wrong and for the way that he's been acting. And so him and the kids essentially make up, and everybody's back on the same page, and Gordon's back to being the old Gordon again. They have lost to Iceland once already. They go into the last game having kind of all gotten back together and come back together and being on the same page, and it's all fun again, and they're all playing good hockey again, and they think they can finally take out this Iceland team. And they play them well through the third quarter. They're losing 4-1 or something like that, or through the second period. After the second period, they go into the locker room, and they come out for the third period, and it is now not the team. It's not Team USA anymore. They come out with the Duck jerseys, and these are the Duck jerseys that are worn by, that were at the time the NHL Anaheim Duck logo and all that. So they come out of the locker room, and they are, instead of being Team USA, they're now like the USA Ducks, but they come out playing as the Ducks. And They play them down to a tie at the end of the third period. There is a shootout, and ultimately they win the shootout by 1. Win the Junior Goodwill Games. Everybody's happy. Go USA. Go Ducks. Yeah, everybody's a winner. We did it. Go team at the end. But that's how essentially the film goes. Now, obviously, I left a lot of details out there. That sounds very plain Jane. But there's a lot to this movie that I really like, and there's a lot that I left out there that would have made it much better probably if I'd given more detail. But if you've seen the movie, then you know exactly how things go. With all that down, we're going to move into the final verdict, and this is where we put the film to the test across 10 categories scored on a scale from 1 to 5, and that scale looks like this. 1 is poor, actively bad, annoying, or distracting. 2 is weak, flawed, or inconsistent. 3 is fair, adequate, but nothing special. 4 is good, solid, works well, but not iconic. And then 5 is excellent, outstanding, a strong highlight of the film. And then the verdict scale looks like this. 10 to 20 is a return it and maybe rewind it out of pity. 20 to 30 is a return worthy unless you're feeling nostalgic. 30 to 40 is a leans rewatch but debatable. And then 40 to 50 is a certified rewatchable movie. I obviously go through this and am very subjective in my approach to the films. As far as like if you said, did you like the movie or not, then yes, that would I'm going to be very subjective in that. But like I try to say every week, given the categories, I try to be as objective as possible on each category and let the chips fall where they may. But I also try to be like reasonable and judge these in context. Meaning, like I've said before, I'm going to judge this as the film that it was intended to be. Same thing as I did last time. Like, okay, if something is made to be a kid-friendly family film, then like I'm not going to judge it as if it's supposed to be The Godfather or something like that. I'm going to judge it as like what is its intent, what was the point and purpose of making the movie, and given that, did they do a good job? That's how a lot of this is going to go down. But we'll jump into the first category. That is story and plot. Is the narrative compelling and coherent? Does it still hold up on a rewatch? Yes. I mean, like, okay, there may be things about this story and plot that people don't buy. I don't really know what that is. It's a sensible thing. You could say whatever you want as far as like, oh, well, like, why would he get chosen to do that? Or to, why would he get chosen to coach the team? Or why would this? Or why is it that the Ducks are playing? Or what? Like, it's just, you consider the movie is the movie. The dude gets, like, he had a team that he took over, right, before. So in the other movie, he had a team that he took over. They're like the most terrible team around. This is Minnesota, a very heavy hockey area of Minnesota. So you're up in the middle of hockey country there in the U.S., and he ends up coaching this ragtag bunch of the most terrible players in the league to win the championship. And so obviously word gets around when USA's looking for a team coach that, like, look, this guy like kind of did miracles with these kids. Imagine like what he could do if he like had some of the best in the world. So he takes kind of like the best of the Ducks in a sense, and obviously if they're going to ask him to coach, he's going to get to bring some of his guys with him. So he brings some of the Ducks, and then they give him some of the other best players from across the country, and then they go. Like, it makes sense. Like, the story makes sense, the plot makes sense to me. Maybe there's holes or whatever, but like, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm going to put it in like the good, solid, works well, but not iconic. There's nothing iconic necessarily about the story, but like, it's good. There's nothing that makes me go like, oh my gosh, that's just like, that's a terrible story, or that's a terrible plot, or whatever. It makes sense to me. You can argue with me in the comment section if you would like to do that. So story and plot, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 and saying it's good. Moving on to characters and performances. Are the characters memorable and well acted, or forgettable and flat? All right. Again, I'm going to say I'll be honest with you. I think that this is to me though. I think I don't know how to say it. Like I'm trying to be objective here, but like at the same time, to me, if I'm thinking like where would I rate this, I think everybody does well. I don't think there's like bad characters in the film or like anybody that's just like totally terrible actors necessarily either. I think there's some cheesy stuff, but I don't think there's anything about anybody that had like did a terrible job. But I do think there's like some pretty like iconic '90s stuff in this movie. I don't know that there's like from a character perspective. I'm just gonna say good. I'm just gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna say good because there's some iconic stuff. I wouldn't say that like I'm gonna put the characters in like this iconic place. I would say they're not iconic, but they're all good. They're iconic for me, for kids, for 90s kids, but like in the world of like movies as a whole, then I don't know that I'm gonna say like these are necessarily iconic to anyone and everyone or like pop culture in general. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm really struggling on what to. I almost want to give this a 4.5, but I'm just gonna leave it at a 4. Pacing and entertainment value. Were you entertained the whole time? Did the movie keep your attention? Does it feel too slow, too rushed, or just right? I think this is the most entertaining movie out of all of them to me. It just is. It's the most entertaining one of the 3. I think that the pacing is great. There's no lulling down boring times. Also, I don't feel like they just 100-mile-an-hour rush through it at all. So for pacing and entertainment value, I'm going to give it a 4. Actually, I'm giving it a 4.5, and let me tell you why. Because I think like the pace of this film is very much close to a highlight of the film. I think it's like better than good. This is just like yeah. I don't really know how to put it into words, to be honest with you, why I feel that way. I'm just like thinking about putting myself in front of the TV and like watching this, and like all the way through this movie, it just like I think it just flows really, really well. So pacing and entertainment value, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. Disagree with me if you want. 4, dialogue and quotability. Okay, well, let me see here. Are there iconic or memorable lines? Yes. Do people still quote it? Does the dialogue feel natural or cringy? Okay, so are there iconic and memorable lines? Yes, absolutely. Several. Do people still quote it? I don't know. I do all the time. I couldn't tell you how many times that I've said, I bet if that puck was a cheeseburger, you'd stop it. That comes to my mind all the time. For whatever reason, the knuckle puck stuff, as silly and goofy as it may be, was very iconic and memorable. Now that's not a line; that's just kind of a gag and a thing for the movie. But like, it's knuckle puck time is sort of like almost like I wouldn't put it on the it's clobbering time, Fantastic Four level of iconic, but like, yeah, there's a lot of memorable lines in this movie. This is a distraction. This is a distraction, or this is a fire in a barrel. This is a distraction and a fire in a barrel. I don't know why this is a very memorable movie to me. It's kind of like, well, it's just very memorable from a dialogue and quotability perspective. I still quote it, and I do think people like that grew up in the '90s still quote this film from time to time, or just like still quote Mighty Ducks altogether. But on with that being said, does the dialogue feel natural or cringy? There's some cringy dialogue in this. Honestly, the most cringy part of this entire film for me is Dwayne, where he hops off the bench and he's like, "Yeehaw!" He reminds me of like what's the kid from Willy Wonka that's like shooting guns and isn't there? Wait, no, I'm thinking of maybe Billy, the kid from what is it? The Little Giants that is always wearing his 6-shooters and all that. Like that's what Dwayne reminds me of. And there's much cringe to that for me. So yes, iconic, memorable lines. Yes, I would say some people still quote it today. Does the dialogue feel natural or cringy? I'm going to give this a 4. And that's because I feel like if this didn't ask you about the natural or cringy, I probably could have given it a 5, to be honest, in my opinion. These are my scores. Leave me alone. But I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give it a 4. Because I am. Soundtrack and score. Does the magic enhance the film or date it? Does the music enhance the film or date it? Does it elevate the emotional tone of the film or feel out of place? Is it iconic or generic? Like I said last time, this is they did a good job with the music. It's not super duper iconic or anything like that. I think it's just good. It's solid, works well, but not iconic. Okay, I'm giving it a 4 again. I just get off my back about it. I feel like I'm trying to be objective while being entirely subjective. So, cinematography and visual style. Is it visually engaging or stylish, regardless of effects, budget, or genre? Do the camera work and effects still impress, or do they look dated or clunky? This is a fine-looking film. They did a good job with it. There's nothing like a lot of the hockey stuff is shot really well. There's not anything on it that for me I was just like this is terrible, but this is bad. But there's also like nothing super iconic about it. I'm trying to think here. Like, it's not necessarily effects related. I don't know if I would put this in. I don't know if like what I'm fixing to say is should be part of like the originality and creativity side of things or cinematography and visual style side of things. But I'm just gonna go with like this area because like I'm just thinking like sets and builds and visuals. We're talking visuals here, so I didn't know it. It wasn't until recently that I learned that. So while shooting this film, there was like 20,000 or something people, extras, come in to fill this stadium, this arena that they're playing in. And some days when they were shooting, they had what they needed, and then there were other days when like everybody didn't show up and they didn't have enough extras to fill what they needed to fill, and so they just put cardboard cutouts of people in the stands. I watched this my entire life and never noticed it until I watched someone else talking about this film. I think it was another podcast or something, and they were talking about that, and then I had to go back and look it up and find it, and sure enough, that's the case. So like, there's cardboard extras in the stands during some of the hockey stuff. So I don't know what to do with that because yes, that's the case, but then also I never noticed it, and I didn't notice it this time watching it. I've watched this a couple of times myself recently, just like in the entire movie, and I've also watched other people watch it. Like I've gotten on YouTube and watched like, the first time watching videos, and I've watched other people watch this movie for the first time. None of those watches myself, whether I was watching the whole film myself or I was watching somebody else, none of those did I notice that there were cardboard cutouts. It wasn't until I was informed by someone else talking about it that I found out there were cardboard cutouts. So, like, I don't think that I can really hold it against them for the fact that I didn't even notice. And I'm usually, like, at this point in life, me watching things, I'm usually pretty perceptive and usually look at that kind of stuff and pay attention to that kind of stuff. But I think, like, I would say the hockey stuff was done so well and shot so well and pulled me into, like, the actual action on the ice so well that I wasn't really noticing or paying much attention to the fact that there were cardboard people behind them in certain shots. So, like, I don't know if that's a knock on them for using cardboard or if it is a like kudos for how well that you did that and kept me from noticing. So cinematography and visual style, it's not iconic. I'd say it's solid. And the fact that like you were able to do that and literally put cardboard people in my face and me not notice, personally, I don't know if other people noticed, but like I don't think a lot of kids were noticing, and I don't remember my parents ever saying anything or noticing, and they would have absolutely done it. Especially my father would have said if he had noticed, he would. He's always just good about pointing things out because he notices that kind of stuff a lot of times, or at least he used to. I don't know that he pays as much attention to that level on that level anymore, but as many times as I watched this as a kid, I know Dad in particular watched this a lot as I watched it, and he never said anything about, look, there's cardboard people there. So he either like was good about never saying anything or he didn't notice. I'm gonna go with he didn't notice. I didn't notice. I had to be told by someone who was not at the time watching the movie. So I'm gonna give this, for cinematography and visual style, I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm just gonna say it was good. And the fact that like you were able to do that and me not notice makes me, even if I was going to kind of give it a 3.5, I'm going to give you a 4 for that. Because like you got it past me. So good job. You did it well enough. Now you're going to go watch that and you're going to go see it and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is awful looking. When you know it's there, it's bad. But when you don't know it's there, you don't know you're looking for it. And it doesn't really pop out, and it's not really super duper in your face. Well, it's just wild. So, moving on to originality and creativity, does the film feel fresh and inspired, or like something you've seen 100 times? Was the film groundbreaking or formulaic? Does it bring something unique? Originality and creativity. Let's see here. I don't. As far as fresh and inspired goes, at the time, a 90s sports movie about hockey. Granted, hockey's not, hockey is not a. It depends on where you live in the country or like what area of different states that you live in, as to whether or not like you even like pay any attention to hockey or you're really into hockey. I mean, where I'm from, hockey's not a thing. People don't play hockey around here. No, nobody I know watches hockey unless it's the Olympics. So. The fact that like you can watch a basketball movie or a football movie and like people all across the country everywhere play basketball and football and baseball and whatever, but that's not the case with hockey. So the fact they were able to take these hockey movies about kids playing hockey and make them as popular as they were says a lot from a fresh and inspired standpoint. The fact that they were able to take the second movie and not just like literally rehash like, oh, we're playing in the city league again. Like, no, they like took it to a whole other level, to this global competition out in LA, bringing other kids in, bringing some of the old kids with you, like a twist on things. You weren't the Ducks. You're now Team USA, who then at the end becomes the Ducks. Like, I think like that's fresh. I think that's a fresh take even on the original. So like I'm gonna say yes there to an extent. Like it's I don't think like the way they did that is like something I've seen 100 times, because I hadn't seen anything like this before. From a sports standpoint, hockey wasn't a thing. So like the fact that you could make a second hockey film and make it is still super duper popular. That's great. Was it groundbreaking or formulaic? I don't know about. I don't feel like it was formulaic. I don't feel like they even tried to like pull some formula from the first one for this one. They tried to do something fresh with this one. Also, from a groundbreaking standpoint, I mean, I think these, like I said before, like there's a uniqueness and a groundbreaking side of things because these films, were partly responsible for this marriage between the NHL and Disney and the team that they created or whatever. But anyway, from originality and creativity, from that perspective, I'm gonna, because of what everything I just said, I'm just gonna give it a 4 and say good. Theme and message. Is there a deeper takeaway, and does it explore ideas that resonate today? I mean, yeah, these movies are all pretty much messagey in a sense, but like, more like life messages on, keep the important things, and don't let the non-important things get in the way of the important things. So yeah, I mean, like, I think from a theme and message perspective, there's a lot of that, like Gordon's whole arc that he has, the fact that they brought people that weren't Ducks in and were able to become a team with some kids that weren't originally part of their team, and then by the end, like, they were all Ducks, even though the others weren't even Ducks to begin with. I'm gonna say, good, whatever. I'm putting it a 4. 4 for theme and message, because this movie's good. It's got a lot of good, like, lessons learned things as a kid watching it, and even as an adult. I mean, like, you got to put what's important as the important thing, and not let superficial crap get in the way of stuff that's really important. Moving on to cringe factor. Any jokes, effects, or moments that haven't aged well or were always bad. Moments that make you wince now. Campy, cheesy, bad effects, outdated jokes that aren't funny, etc. I think this one was a little bit more cheesy than the first. Like I said, the Fulton Reed thing, where Fulton is, I think it's Fulton Reed's his name, right? Where Fulton is supposed to be this big, huge, when he walks, the ground shakes kid who can pick people up by their shirt collar with a straight arm, and like, that's just cheesy to me. But I get it. It's for a kids movie. So that's at the beginning of the movie where he's tossing kids around and has a deep voice. Even when he answers, it's like, it doesn't even sound like his voice. It's, hi guys. It's like super deep, not really even him. That's cheesy. A lot of the Dwayne roping crap is cheesy. I get, like, roping for fun during practice, but like him jumping the thing, and like, why would you even have a rope in the whatever, not dugout, but the team box with you? I don't know what it's called in hockey. Why would you have that there on the bench with you? And when he ropes the girl, and he, the dude's going at her and fixing to ram her into the wall and check her into the boards, as they say. And he ropes her with a rope because he just happens to have it with him at the hockey game. He jumps off the bench and ropes the guy and stops him from hitting her. And then, like, he says something along the lines of, like, where I come from, that ain't no way to treat a lady, or something like that. And she says, I'm no lady, I'm a duck. And then she pushes him down. Like, that's always been super kind of cheesy and just annoying to me. So, for cringe factor, this dude is going to get a 3 from me, because it just is. There's some really cheesy, cringy stuff in this movie that I think if you'd removed it, it'd still been a good kids movie. It wouldn't have made it any worse. I don't think that some of that stuff, like, even the knuckle puck thing, like, it's cheesy and unrealistic and silly, but like, that doesn't really bother me. Like, okay, it's like it's like a shot. It's like throwing a particular pitch in baseball. Like, oh, this is like a rookie of the year. He throws really fast. Like, that's the premise of the show, and so therefore I'm gonna, like, buy that. The premise of the not the premise. It's not the knuckle puck's not the premise of the movie, but the thing is, like, he flips the puck up on its side and like hits it in a way that it doesn't, the trajectory and things aren't as they normally would be because it is flipping in the air rather than sliding on the ice. So like there's a level to that where you're like, okay, like you can just like it's like that suspension of disbelief. Like, I'm just going to accept that like he can hit this puck kind of a weird way that makes it do weird stuff in the air, that whatever. But like the roping thing and like that stuff, and I'm just like, come on, like I just would rather have not had that in the movie, to be honest. So I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5 for cringe factor. There's some cringy stuff in there. Nostalgia and rewatchability. Does it hold up to your memory of it? Does it still matter today? Is it timeless? Or has it aged poorly? Does a rewatch ruin the magic? And would you honestly watch it again? Does it hold up to your memory of it? Yes. I still absolutely love this film. Does it still matter today? Pop culturally, I think like, yeah. I think like the entire, like I've said before, like I said last episode, this spawned a lot of stuff. There was even like I want to say a Mighty Ducks animated series or something. But then you had the later TV show that came out on Disney Plus. Like I watched a thing the other day where I guess maybe it was during the writer's strike or something. Emilio Estevez had written a Mighty Ducks 4 movie. He said he was going to try to like correct the wrongs or correct the crap that he wasn't necessarily happy with the Mighty Ducks Game Changers Disney Plus series that they had. So sorry for my sniffly nose. Anyway, like I think yes, it does still matter today. And in a sense, I think like this trilogy as a whole is timeless. Like it is a good family-friendly show that is pop culturally relevant, at least still for now. And it is also something I think like you can go back and watch and you don't feel like, okay, like watching this now makes it feel super duper out of date. It doesn't feel super dated in general. So yeah, like I think this is for me, this is my opinion. I think it's a timeless series. I don't think it's aged poorly at all. A rewatch does not ruin the magic. Well, I'll watch it again 100 times. So, for nostalgia and rewatchability, I'm super nostalgic on this second one in particular, but the whole trilogy. I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 because that's how I feel about it. So let's tally these things up. I did this on the fly and gave it, scored it in real time. So I'm going to add it up in real time as I walk through these. So we start off with story and plot, which got a 4 out of 5. Characters and performances, which got a 4 out of 5. Pacing and entertainment value got a 4.5 out of 5. Dialogue and quotability got a 4 out of 5. Soundtrack and score, 4 out of 5. Cinematography and visual style, 4 out of 5. Originality and creativity, 4 out of 5. Theme and message, 4 out of 5. Cringe factor, 3 out of 5. Nostalgia and rewatchability, 5 out of 5. Bringing the final score to this dude to a 40.5 out of 50. Barely squeezing itself into being certified rewatchable. To me, it is, man. Like, feel however you want. Look at the critic scores and just trust them however you want. But it's certified rewatchable for me. And I'm glad that that's where it fell. I'd have felt sad otherwise. Honestly, I'm not sure if I would have let it do that. But that's just there's some movies and some things where, like, they're just going to fall and fit in places that I feel like they need to, even while I'm trying to be as objective as I can throughout these categories. But D2, The Mighty Ducks, a certified rewatchable film. Thank you for hanging on. If you watched this all the way till the end, if you don't mind, I'm going to do the whole house cleaning thing here and just say like and subscribe. Like the video if you liked this. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue to watch these. It's definitely helpful for me. It's helpful for the channel. Helps with the whole algorithm thing. I would love to hear about your experience with the Mighty Ducks trilogy as you were a kid maybe, or if you are a parent of a kid that watched this growing up. Let me know in the comments. And if you are listening to this on any of the audio podcast platforms and you would like to comment, but you can't on there, then you can go to Instagram to Rewatch or Return, and you can comment on the post related to this particular episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on there as well, but you can go follow the show on there anyway. With all that said, that's going to be the end of this episode, and I will see you next week.